Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hey, hello. How you doing? I hope you're doing better than me. I had to laugh when I heard Lynn Cullen Live because Lynn Cullen barely alive. I've had another go around with the medical establishment guys, and I'm a little worse for wear, but I just wanted to come back because I miss you, and I just can't stand being sick anymore. So, howdy. If I lack my usual and verve, it's because I'm still trying to reclaim it. I guess I could tell you what happened, but I was already sick on the last show I did, that Friday, when we had that, what was her name, that wonderful... Helen Boyd, the gender study professor from Lawrence University. I had been feeling very ill the night before. I hadn't eaten much for about half a day, and I certainly hadn't eaten anything that day coming in. And I might have even complained, I think, that I wasn't feeling well. There's something wrong with me, something with my stomach, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But after that, I just kept plugging along. I even went to the gym because I'm an idiot. To work out, and I got on a stationary bike and rode for about 15 minutes, and I got off and started trying to stretch, and I thought, I can't do this. And I went home. Suffice to say that late that night, my poor son, who every time he comes home ends up having to run me to an emergency room, ran me to the emergency room. And there I was, and I stayed in the hospital till I think it was Tuesday night. They finally sprung me. In the interim, my appendix was removed. And I did not present as a normal appendicitis case, but then I never present as a normal anything. I am so sick and tired of it. Every time docs see me or see my x-rays or see my CAT scans, they invariably say things like, that's interesting. And so they did again this time. And one doctor said the day of my surgery, which was Sunday morning, he came in and said, well, good news. He said, you can eat. We're going to feed. They wouldn't feed me, so I hadn't eaten for 3 days. They said, we're going to let you eat a little something, and then I think you'll be able to go home. About 20 minutes after that, another doctor came in, a surgeon. He said, we're going to operate on you in about 45 minutes. I said, well, it's a damn good thing then that the lunch hasn't arrived or the breakfast, that your resident just informed me I was going to enjoy. Let me just say this about hospitals in this city. I know we're known as the big eds and meds city now, but let's be clear about what the med part is about. It's not about patient care. It is not. It's about research. It's research. And if you go to these places now, they do not really seem to be in the business of care. And I refused after my last horrific stay at Presby in Montefiore, my last surgery 6 months ago. I said, I will not darken your doors again. Because, as I said, you keep telling people choose your health care as if your life depended on it. I said, well, I will, and I'm not coming back to you. I had a terrifying stay at Montefiore, if you recall. So this time I told my son, take me to West Penn. And I must say, the emergency room was much nicer. Much nicer. I was seen very quickly. Everybody was very nice. Everybody was very attentive. But once I was admitted, it became scary again. Do you know there was one nurse on my entire floor at night? I think in the day there may have been two. But I said to the guy when they finally gave me a bed, the nurse, I said, are you the only nurse up here? And he said, yeah. Let me tell you something. These hospitals are not staffed. And after I came home from the hospital, I saw the Post-Gazette had printed on the front page this: hospital job cuts continue in region. Reductions have increased sixfold this year. Well, let me tell you what that means if you're a patient. It means your room doesn't get cleaned. It means if there are even feces on the floor or vomit, there they sort of stay. Maybe a nurse will take a swipe at it. You do not see a housekeeping. And then when housekeeping comes, it's sort of like this. There is none of the kind of careful sanitizing, washing of the environment that you would expect. You wonder why American hospitals have this reputation of killing people? Because they do. They do it from ineptitude. They do it from the nonchalance. They do it from absolute stupid mistakes. They do it from lack of supervision. They do it. Before I left, I did see a nursing supervisor. I began taking notes. I thought maybe it's important to tell them how bad things are. The entire time I was there, they refused to give me my regular daily medication. I asked every day. I said, I need my. Every day they'd come in. They wanted to give me one. That was my Synthroid. I had half my thyroid taken out 30 years ago. And my Synthroid is the least interesting med I take. I don't care about it that much. I got half a functioning thyroid. I don't care. Every morning I'd be awakened by some nurse, always a different one, because God forbid they would staff a place so that a nurse would get to know a patient and a patient's needs. So every person who saw you sees you for the first time. That's the way that seems to work, which seems stupid. They'd always say the same thing. Well, I have your meds here. I have your Synthroid, and I have your stool softener. And I would say, I want my other meds, and I don't need a stool softener. I got diarrhea.
Yeah, go ahead.
Every day they told me they were giving me stool softener. Every day. What? I don't understand how these places work. Does anybody pay any attention? Like the time I was in Montefiore, I called a friend Saturday night. It was before my surgery, before I knew I was even having surgery. All of a sudden, some nurse came in and said, we're moving you. And I said, what? She said, yeah, we're moving you. You can't be in this room. This room is observation. And I guess I'd been observed. And so they were going to move me. And then somebody came back and said, no, we're not moving you. And then the next nurse came in and said, you're having surgery tomorrow. I said, that's news to me. And then the next morning, of course, a doctor comes in and says, you can eat. And then 20 minutes later, another doctor comes in and says, you are having surgery. Nobody had a effing clue. I vowed after Presby and Montefiore, I will not, God forbid, keep me out of a hospital. I will not go in them. And after this now, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I'll try AGH next if that one doesn't work. I don't know. I don't know. I don't trust any of them. In Western Pennsylvania, regional hospitals collectively reported a 6-fold increase in staff reductions last year. Vice President of Financial Services for West Penn said it is worrisome because it could endanger programs and services. Yeah. Yeah. I wish all these assholes would have to be anonymous patients in their own effing hospitals. And here's another quote from Karen Wolk-Feinstein, who is she's in this building because that's where the Jewish Healthcare Foundation is. She's quoted in this article as saying this: the United States is in the midst of a tectonic plate movement in which people are questioning the return on the vast amounts Americans spend for health care. The value we get for our health care investment in this country is demoralizing. We are spending twice as much as any developed nation. And in terms of population health, we're discouragingly low. Don't ever in my earshot tell me medical care is good. Yeah, I'm not dead. Yes, they did. They fixed me, I guess. They did finally. They got what was, it turns out, a gangrenous appendix, which had affected and infected my ileum and my bowel and this and that. Gangrenous, can you imagine? The doctor said he couldn't take it out in a normal way. He had to pull a wall of my stomach. Who knows? I appreciate the surgeon. He did his job. But the care. And let me just say this. I encountered some wonderful nurses there and some wonderful other workers. I did. But there are far too many who are phoning it in, who don't give a shit. And they're clearly working in an environment that is not conducive to what their mission should be, which is their patients' health. I don't see a lot of constant sanitizing of hands. And as I said, I don't see a lot of cleaning of the actual space. As a matter of fact, next to none on all counts. It is not surprising that unbelievable numbers of Americans go into hospitals every year and get sick. Get infections. I can see it. I pity the person who had the room after I had the room. because I know some things that happened when I had the room, and I know things were not fixed properly. Let me just say this. I have not had a major asthma episode in over a year. Thanks to the wonderful care at West Penn, I could barely breathe by the third day. Why? Because they wouldn't give me my meds! Some nurse came in to take my vitals, and she thought something was wrong. They clamped that thing on your finger to see how much oxygen is getting in your blood saturation, oxygen levels in your blood. And mine was so low, she said, well, that can't be right. I said, well, I think it might be, and I think I need somebody from respiratory therapy. I was my own doctor. I was my own nurse. I was my advocate. Except for then I'll count them on one hand, and God bless you, and I'm sorry I can't name you by name, who helped me, who genuinely helped, who educated me, who said things like, here is what is going to happen. Here is how you might feel after this. Don't be upset if. Believe me, few and far between. So, every time I look at these ads now, UPMC, Allegheny Health Network, fighting it out, all I can think is both of you be damned. They've lost sight of what they're supposed to do. Do you ever remember being in a hospital in, let's say, the 50s or the 60s, maybe even the 70s? Remember how nurses used to bathe you? They'd give you daily a little, like, sponge bath in your bed to keep you clean. I cannot even conceive of such a thing happening in any of these hospitals here. Choose your health care as if your life depended on it, and stay the hell out of the hospital. I have been to the vaulted UPMC, and it scares the shit out of me. I have been to West Penn, and it scared the shit out of me. And now somebody's writing me and telling me, and don't go to AGH. Well, where the hell are we supposed to go? And you can see the staff is demoralized. My friend who came when I called her the night before my surgery, when she got to the room, she said, she had this look on her face of like, she said, this place is spooky. I said, what do you mean? She said, I was wandering around looking for your room. She said, I did not see one person, not one nurse, no staff. She saw none. I said, welcome to my world. I wish you all the best of health. Oh, dear. Okay, I'll stop. All right, so to a subject I was simply stunned opening Sunday's Post-Gazette. Were you too? And saw that our local newspaper, the liberal local newspaper, as opposed to the conservative newspaper, the Tribune Review, refused to endorse either candidate in the gubernatorial race. What? What? Now, let us remember that this is the same editorial board who last time, when they endorsed a candidate for governor of this state, endorsed Tom Corbett. Way to go, PG. I tip me hat to you. That was a great call. They don't seem to mention that endorsement in this. I don't think. They do admit they've been disappointed in him. But to not endorse Tom Wolf? Why? I'll tell you why. And this is what is, I feel for the Post-Gazette in many ways. I feel for the employees there. I am sure my reaction to this no endorsement for the gubernatorial race could not match that of most of the employees, including, I am willing to bet, a majority of their so-called editorial board. But you see, the newspaper is owned by someone. I never met the guy. He looks like a nerd. He's a rich nerd. And he wears bow ties. And his name is Block, as was his daddy before him. And I understand his daddy before him was quite a newspaper guy. I don't know about this Block. The chip off the older Block leaves something to be desired, because he has the myopic mindset of a one-issue voter. And it's his one issue, which, by the way, is not a life and death kind of an issue, but it's his issue that made the Post-Gazette 4 years ago do the unthinkable and endorse Tom Corbett. And I have no doubt that it is the same blockhead who has now made the editorial board abstain from an endorsement. You know why? Because his issue, the one issue this guy seems to care about, I mean, I have an opinion on it. You do too. But of all the issues facing the Commonwealth, it doesn't make the top 10 in terms of really important stuff. What Blockhead cares about, apparently more than anything, is the state stores. He wants them gone. Well, a lot of us would like them gone. But, you know, it ain't impossible to get spirits, wine, booze. You can do it. And if you got the money Block has, he can have it flown in directly from vineyards in wherever the hell he wants it from. I think there is little doubt that Tom Wolfe would have gotten the endorsement of the Post-Gazette if Tom Wolfe had said what every candidate for governor always says, and I will try to get, well, the Democrats don't, that's true, the state store system privatized. See, Corbett had said that 4 years ago. That's why he got endorsed. That's the only reason he got endorsed. And he failed. So that's why he didn't get endorsed this time. And Wolf, no, because he doesn't care. It's not a big thing on his list. So this tortured non-endorsement, whoever the hell wrote it, I hope they drank about a fifth of bourbon from the closest state store as they were doing it. I know I would have had to. It is so tortured. What? Nothing. How the hell? It is. Oh, God. All right, I'll stop. I'm exhausting myself. Okay. Yeah, let's take, what, we have a call. Oh, thank God. Hello?
Hey, do you think endorsements mean that much anymore with newspapers?
No.
It does.
No, of course they don't. You're right.
So
they don't. And in fact, usually a Post-Gazette endorsement is a kiss of death. But it's just the knowing why they didn't. Knowing their owner wants to have a nice little boutique liquor store he can go to in his Fox Chapel or some Wickley neighborhood, wherever the hell he lives.
And this Green, is it Green? I don't really like the guy.
Green or Wolf? Who are you talking
Wolf,
about?
I'm sorry, I don't like calling him Green. I don't care for the guy. I think he's the worst out of. There had two women in there I thought were better.
Yeah, well.
I like better.
Well, Wolf.
Like you say, you got to vote for the Democrat.
You have to. There's no doubt. I mean, I don't know much about Wolf either, but he's my guy because he's the Democrat. And good God, he's not an idiot. I can tell he's not an idiot, and I can also tell he's not a bad guy by the way he ran his business and by the way he does run his business. Seems like a good guy. So, let him have a whack at it. There's not, I mean, Corbett's been just abysmal failure.
Yes.
And I don't think he's a bad guy either, but he's an abysmal failure. So, geez, one of the few bright spots that might happen tomorrow nationally is that we'll knock one Republican governor out of office. And the reason Wolf won, as you know, is because our system's so screwed up. He had more money than anybody else, and he just blew everybody away before anybody else even got out of the gate.
Yes, that's exactly right.
That's exactly what happened.
Yep.
None of us had ever heard of him, and then all of a sudden all we knew was Wolf, 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 Wolf. And they were brilliant ads.
I have a bad feeling that Republicans are going to take the Senate, but I hope I'm wrong.
Oh, no, I suspect you're right. And in fact, if they do not take the Senate, it will be a gift from God because it just doesn't look like the Democrats will hold it. It just doesn't. The numbers ain't there.
But I'm only hoping that the Senate, them holding the Senate, that people see their true colors more. Come 2016, it'll be a better election for the Dems. But I don't know.
Everything in this country seems broken to me.
Yes.
Everything. All right, you.
Okay, thank you.
Always a pleasure. Bye. Everything seems broken. Chuck writes, Lynn, the worst thing that ever happened to healthcare in this region was to allow UPMC, a health insurance provider, to purchase nearly all of the hospitals in western Pennsylvania. Now we have only two choices for our health care, whereas years ago we had many. Why are insurance companies permitted to own health facilities? If there was ever a conflict of interest, that would be it. Well, this is what, Chuck, I agree with you, and the system is broken. The whole thing is broken. You couldn't, if you put a bunch of lunatics together to create a healthcare system, they'd be hard-pressed to come up with something as insane as we, in fact, have. And I guess what's maddening is that we do know that there are other countries, civilized countries, yes, ladies and gentlemen, civilized countries that have healthcare systems that work better, that function in a less insane manner. And invariably, the government, yes, is involved. And invariably, yes, it is single-payer health care. That's what works. We know that's what works. It what keeps costs down. It returns hospitals back to their mission of care, as opposed to their mission, from what I can tell from UPMC, of acquiring as much wealth and power as they possibly can. If you think Romoff and the boys at the top of that U.S. Steel building ever give a moment's thought to the sick people who come to them, you're delusional. You're delusional. It is only because they still have in their employ doctors and nurses who do care, who are skilled, but they have them working within a system that hampers them, that demoralizes them. If you know docs and you know them in a social way and you talk to them or to their spouses, it is rare that you will hear any of them say anything positive about UPMC. Anything. Chuck goes on to say, my wife and I are insured by Highmark. Over the weekend, my wife received a letter telling her that her mammograms at McGee would be out of network now, and they gave us alternatives that are in network. This is all just ridiculous. Yes, it is. It's more than ridiculous. It's there's an ethical element here that is not being addressed. And here our dysfunctional government is incapable of taking on our dysfunctional healthcare giants. And our dysfunctional local government is terrorized by UPMC and these corporate behemoths. Terrorized. They own us. And that's the truth. And somehow we've let it happen. And I don't know. It's beyond me how there's... Oh, here, yeah, the political system broken. Post-Gazette, front page, today. In the contest for state seats for the Senate and House of Representatives in Harrisburg, that many of you will be voting on tomorrow, 91 incumbents face absolutely no opposition. In other words, there's no one to vote for. Remember during that communist era, if you're old enough, where we used to make fun of commies going to vote? Because they actually went to vote, and there was only one name. There was no choice. And that's what we've got now, pretty much. And we have no choice, in part because we have allowed the gerrymandering of districts so much so that, unless you want to engage in some quixotic adventure and take on an incumbent in a totally secure district, you know, if you don't have anything else to do and you got the time and energy, and maybe sometimes you're even willing to waste some money on it, go, do it. But the system's rigged already. It's rigged. So even when there appears to be choice, there often is no choice. There are counties that are totally red or totally blue. And for the Republicans or Democrats who live in the wrong colored county, they have no one to vote for. It's been rigged. This is our system. Well, one of the negatives that happened this morning, dang it, is that Monday morning is the morning that the Post-Gazette has its, celebrations column, or the announcements of the weddings and 50th anniversaries and all that. And I seem to recall that the last time I spoke of this, I said, well, at least since the paper shrunk, at least there's been one good thing that happened. And that is that Billy Nardini, is that his name? I believe so, has disappeared. And I assumed, silly me, that the Post-Gazette had said to him, hey, look, Billy, that's what you're doing isn't what Celebrations is about. It's not about, printing your unbelievable, god-awful poetry. It is about, weddings and births and stuff like that. And even though we appreciate the money you spend and give us we just don't have as much room and we'd like to keep it for the intended purpose. He's back. There he is, looking out at us with his mullet still in place. And here's what he's written. I'll share it with you. It feels so good to be back and get my poetry back on track. I have missed our connection, I say, in a telephone kind of way. I will return next Monday right here with a brand new poem, I swear. Love you, Billy. Billy, I'm sure you're a nice person. I'm sure you're a nice person, Billy, but please, stop! He must have been sick or something. I'm glad you're feeling better, Billy. I don't know what it was, but geez. And to the Post-Gazette, will you shut him up at least? Tell him that's not what it's about. Colette writes, I've had good experiences at St. Clair Hospital in Mount Lebanon. Are they owned by anybody? I think they're sort of under UPMC a little bit. Huh?
Arian?
Huh?
Arian Hospital?
St. Clair. C-L-A-I-R. We'll look it up. If they're independent, maybe. I've had different procedures there, outpatient surgery and tests. You see, but I would say that's different. You gotta spend the night. You gotta spend a week in these places to get a fix on them. I've been in and out, had no problem. You want to be in one of these places. outside of business hours and on weekends. And then you're going to see there's no care. St. Clair's UPMC. Anyway, Colette says, the other people I've dealt with there were kind and competent, as were the docs. Over and over, they ask your name, symptoms, and procedures you're there for. It drives you nuts, but at least they're verifying things. My mom's been there several times, sometimes overnight, and has always had a good experience. One time, she was taken there in an ambulance and didn't have a coat. I had a coat for her when I picked her up, and the nurse in the emergency had given her a heated blanket and told her to take it home. It really was a help to Mom because she gets chilled easily. Those heated blankets are wonderful. Perhaps St. Clair doesn't have as great a shortage of nursing staff. I've had several relatives needing hospitalization AGH. I wasn't impressed. Some confusion you experience, and the floors are filthy there, too. Oh, God, Jesus Christ.
They might not be owned.
They're not owned by UPMC, but they're affiliated in some way. Yeah, well, maybe that's why they're actually human. Lynn writes that Bob Dylan has a song, a witty and sly one at that, called Everything is Broken. We should check it out. Indeedy. Melanie writes, my dear friend has worked for years at UPMC and recently told me that she doesn't even make $27,000. She works in a neurosurgeon's office and has a lot of responsibilities. UPMC has convinced her that the union would be a bad thing. I tried my best to talk to her about the craziness of this. Well, people are whatever. I don't know. I don't know that a union, a union at UPMC might well be the answer to giving these employees, a living wage. But I'm here to tell you there are not enough of them, and the standards of cleanliness and care are simply... I told you that at Montefiore, for God's sake, they put me in a room where I could not be... I was essentially in an Ebola ward. I mean, nobody could get to me. Nobody could hear me. I once was screaming at the top of my lungs, help me, help me. Nobody. They don't answer the buzzer when you ring it. And if they do, they sound annoyed. Yeah. We have a call. Hello?
Hi, Lynn.
Hey.
So there's a movie I want to recommend to people. It's called The Act of Killing. It's actually a documentary.
Huh?
And apparently the director is coming out with a sequel to it. But it won some awards and got great praise, and I don't know if it showed around here or not. I think it did. I saw it on television. Actually, on one of the few QED programs that's still worth watching, which is that...
Frontline.
No, not Frontline. They show an independent film, I think Wednesday nights they show...
right.
Independent filmmakers.
Right.
From like 10 to 11 or something. This actually ran like 10 to 12. Anyway, it is about Indonesia. And it is about, in particular, a man who was a member of the extermination squad. He went around during the coup in Indonesia killing communists. And there's estimates anywhere from 500,000 to over 1 million communists were killed by these death squads. Which, in itself, the casualness and the flippantness of the way they talk about it and is shocking enough. But you have to see the way the government officials conduct themselves in this movie, because they are to a point, and what I'm getting at here is I see our country heading this way, and I see I don't see any way of turning this ship around, but the elected officials, there's no guys about them being elected, wanting to get into office to further themselves. That's the only reason they want in office, is to get elected so that, and then one guy actually says, if I get elected and somebody wants to build a building, I can tell them they're not allowed to build a building until they give me a lot of money. And he said, and you times that by all the buildings that they want to build, and I'm going to be a rich man.
Yep.
And it's, you can so see our political system going this way. And actually, there's one political system in Indonesia, and I can't remember what it's the Children's Army or something, but it's a misnomer because it's an all adult or the Army of Youth or something, but it's basically all adults. But very fascist organization. They think the military should be running the country, but it's the largest political party in the entire country, and they run the show. And if you don't listen to them, they strong arm you and they beat you up and they take your money and they make you do what they want. But I strongly recommend this movie to people. I wish it had a bigger national audience, and I even if it did, though, I'm not sure that Americans will put
two and two together. Yeah. No, we believe our mythology because it comforts us.
Well, it's a disturbing thing, isn't it? Is that we can do no wrong because we have kind of we have the edict, we have the manifest destiny that won't let anything go wrong.
Right.
No matter how bad things get.
Yeah.
The United States was founded by God. So.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, listen. Anyway, let me say one more thing, if I could.
Uh-huh.
You still look good, Lynn, and you look good with all great. Your hair is finally grown out completely.
Pretty much. There's still a little teeny bit there, but yeah, it looks good. I like it. No, I should. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Hang in there.
Bye. Yeah, I look good because I'll tell you, I figured out my diet plan. I've lost 12 pounds. And it's even when I was in for my shoulder surgery and all that stuff, I lost I think I lost more. I lost 12, 15 pounds. And then over the course of the 6 months, I started gaining my appetite and picking it back up. And I was starting to despair because for my one-woman show, I wanted to, be svelte. And I was getting a little pudgy again, and now I'm svelte again. So this is my diet plan. Every 6 months, have a major surgical intervention.
Takes it right off.
It takes it right off. And the thing is, no, you don't want food. There's no problem. The very idea of food is ugh. Oh, that was a funny thing. They wouldn't let me out till I ate some solid food. Well, do you know, it is food. I thought, I got to get out of here. So they left me with this food. They said it was Salisbury steak and mashed potatoes. Oh, dear God in heaven, you cannot imagine. So I pushed it around on my plate. I got some of the mashed potatoes down and just did the meat. And then you know what I did? I just went, I unhooked my IV, from the wall, and I toddled into the bathroom, and I flushed the Salisbury steak down the toilet. There! I ate! And I figured if there were any other problems with me eating, we'll do that again. More than one way to skin a cat. Okay, so Ansel's bummed out. Yeah, sorry, Ansel, I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have come back. Sorry. And he said, the show's a downer. Yeah. But do you want to disagree with anything I've said? No. Okay, just want to remind everyone the Steelers beat those dirty birds last night, and they beat them good. Something to smile about. You know how I feel about football now. I don't give a shit. Didn't watch 1 second of it. Okay, so, wait. Roger writes, Lynn, what you are saying is so true and depressing. Okay, so, Ansel, you're right. It's depressing. But, Roger, thank you. It's true! And part of the reason we got ourselves in this mess is we don't like dealing with reality. We don't take it. Oh, that's so depressing. Give me bread and circuses. Oh, let's kill the ravens. Come on. Shit. Excuse me. Roger writes, change is necessary. I received a Groupon ad for half off for a self-defense and handgun course. I know we don't want this, but perhaps we do need a revolution. You're planning on arming yourself, and that's futile too. The only revolution that'll happen in this country really is by taking our government back. And we won't take it back with guns. We will take it back with votes. And that can be done if somehow some leadership arises that we can do it. We still do have somewhat of a system that can be used. Reclaimed. Guns? There's no way. I mean, look at the Pentagon budget lately. I mean, and again, the militarization of every little podunk police department in the country. What are armed citizens going to do? We're going to win? No. That's such stupidity. Ballots! Not bullets. Ballots! And then we've got to find enough undispirited, undisillusioned, uncynical Americans who are willing to stand up and start the hard, God knows, thankless work of organizing and getting Americans to understand that in our numbers, we have more power than even the 1%. We have a call. Hello?
Hello, this is Clarence from Canada.
Hi, Clarence.
I was arguing with somebody on Facebook about politics, and I'm not voting because all we have to do is vote for the lesser of two evils. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Then vote for the lesser of two evils.
Exactly. Yeah. What? How's that an argument? Yeah, sure. Okay.
And I said, and if you keep voting for the lesser, sooner or later, the evil's going to be gone.
Maybe so. Lesser and lesser. That's right.
Do the math.
That's right. What about people, yeah. Oh, unless I have the perfect candidate who I agree with absolutely everything, I just can't get off my ass and bother. There's no point to it.
That's more or less an excuse to say, I don't know what the hell's going on, I feel stupid, so I'm going to act like I know what I'm talking about by saying, all politicians are bad. That's all. I think it's an excuse for them not to, to know every damn statistic that Ben Roethlisberger ever did, but can't name their congressman.
Right.
Don't tell me you don't got the time.
Right. Nah, don't tell me either.
Yeah. So that's all I had to say.
That's good.
Thank you.
I liked it. Thank you.
Right.
Bye. Okay. Oh, here's something I came across. Oh, excuse me. I'm under doctor's orders to belch and fart as much as I possibly can, so. I was actually told they told me I had to eat solid food. Then I found out the other hurdle was I had to fart for the surgeon. I said, well, I can't fart on demand. I am sorry. He said, well, I see you have a smartphone. He said, what? He said, why don't you record a fart and tell you that'll do. I said, I'll record a whole medley of farts for you. right, so there's this. Seniors at a Nebraska high school have been told that, yes, for their senior yearbook photo, they can, in fact, pose with their firearms as long as it's done in a tasteful manner. Isn't that nice? The Broken Bow School Board voted unanimously Monday to allow students to pose with guns in school pictures after parents advocated for the change. Oh, dear. So, you ever get the impression you're out of touch? That there are whole parts of this country that would be less exotic. I mean, that would be more exotic to you than if you decamp to some island in Polynesia, like Broken Bow School District. Go there where parents actually rouse themselves to action. And make the school board unanimously agree that their senior pictures can have them cuddling their guns. I mean, I don't even comprehend people like that. I could comprehend like a Paleolithic kind of a primitive soul, hunter-gatherer kind of a person. And their ethical structures more. I'd feel more comfortable. Okay, here's the superintendent. The board, I believe, felt that they wanted to give students who are involved in those kinds of things, I guess hunting, the opportunity to take a senior picture with their hobby, just like anybody with any other hobby. The school district previously banned such photos due to national concern about violence in schools. Students cannot brandish the weapon or point it at the camera. So it has to be tasteful and appropriate, and that students should not submit a photograph of game shot by the student if the animal is in obvious distress. Well, if it's dead, it's not in distress anymore. You mean they won't let you post with a half-dead deer? That you can't. But if the deer's totally dead, you go for it. What's next? So, against my doctor's orders, that's not true. I turned on CNN the other day. And, Scott, oh, never mind. I'm out of time anyway. Never mind. We don't have to go there. Thank God, saved by the clock. Okay, well, I got a lot of the bilious fluids out. And so maybe it'll be a little more upbeat tomorrow. My sister Susan will be joining us. And in fact, Susan was in Pittsburgh for the last 5 days nursing me. And she just left yesterday. And God, I don't know what I would have done without her ministrations. I couldn't have made it. It's a bitch to be sick and alone. It's a bitch, and it's also dangerous. Just saying. So, I don't know if I can rent her out to anybody out there, but, I mean, she's really good. Florence Nightingale. Yep. So she'll be joining us tomorrow. Okay? Have a good one.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.